Hey, good morning. It is the Nikki Medoro show, and I'm so glad that you are here with me. Can you guys hear me okay?
Not one day of my life have I behaved, and
I don't
I
know.
have.
For one reason, or for some reason, I feel like. Okay. Sorry, I think I had sound playing in the background there. Hello. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Welcome to the Nikki Medoro show. Nikki, of course, is in Las Vegas. Sorry to click the start button a little bit late. I'm telling you guys, I feel kind of lucky that I'm here at all. I had a rough night. Not to TMI you with too many details, but I think I got some kind of food poisoning or something. And man, whew, it's been a hard one, I got to tell you. Wow. But here I am, and it is Eclipse Day. And I saw Lori in the chat. I've been checking out what you guys are saying. And, oh, it's open. Okay. I'm glad everything's okay now, Katie. Whew, thank you. Um, it is Eclipse Day, and I saw Lori saying that she's like, I don't understand why it's such a big deal. We've been through this before. It's true, we have been through this before. And I was reading that if you're interested in things like the eclipse, that you're living in the perfect time because we've seen more of them than most people get to in the world. And that is not always the case. And the next one isn't scheduled to come around again until 2046, which means, I mean, that's a pretty significant time. It seems like there's always some type of phenomenon that's happening. And so it seems like it's not a big deal, but I think it is a big deal. This complete, total solar eclipse. So that's not something we get to see. We get to see other things. And it seems like, because I think the last one was in 2017, that we've been through this before, or that we've seen a lunar eclipse and not a solar eclipse. And so maybe that's why it seems like that. But I think this is kind of a special deal. So I wanted to start out with that. Um, and I know a lot of people are not in the path of totality, but I think it's will still be interesting to pop outside and if you have the glasses or if you have the colander or whatever happens, to get a look at it. So I thought we could talk about exactly what's going to happen today. I'm sorry, Lori. Hopefully, it won't take too long and I won't frustrate you too much because I love you and I want you to stick around. All right, let's talk about what is going to happen today. It's not going to happen here in California. We're going to get a partial eclipse where it's going to look like there's a bite taken out of the sun, right? But for people in the path of this thing, it's going to be really, really cool. I was reading this article in CNN that talked about exactly the stages that will happen today and saying this scientist saying this is for a lot of people going to be the most incredible thing that they will ever see in their entire life, which made me feel a little sad that maybe I didn't take steps to go to the path of totality, especially since I have a budding little astronomer over here. However, this is syzygy, kind of a cool word. Syzygy, syzygy. What a great Scrabble word if you've got enough Y's. The syzygy is a moment where three celestial bodies line up, completely align in a perfect way to block each other out. So, in the total solar eclipse, the moon will completely block the face of the sun for maybe 3 to 4 minutes ish, depending on where you are, and that's known as totality. And there are 32 million people who will see that today. And there are even people who are solar eclipse vacationers that are booking trips to get this done. More about that in a minute, because not everybody who booked a trip is actually going to see what they thought they were going to see. This Dr. John Mulcahy from the Carnegie Institution for Science says until you've actually seen a total eclipse, it's almost impossible to describe. And I think I've seen a lot of partial eclipses. We saw a blood moon, right? That was kind of interesting. He said, and here's the quote, when you see totality, you can see how it's had such a huge impact on humans through thousands of years. It's one of the most beautiful things that people will ever experience. So, here's what we're going to see. For a lot of us, we're going to see just the bite. And that's okay, right? But about 15 to 20 minutes before totality, the sky, he says, starts getting weird and gloomy, like gray, because the sun is way high in the sky. It's almost entirely blocked out. All of a sudden, he says, you're losing most of the light and it feels really weird. And all of a sudden, animals start doing these weird things. Maybe nocturnal animals start coming out from wherever they usually stow themselves, right? Bugs will start chirping. Things are going to be strange for a hot minute. He said it's not like twilight or sunrise when the sun is low in the sky. It's above you, and all of a sudden, you're losing most of the light, and it just feels really, really weird. And that's the cue. That's when you know this is going to kick in and happen. And then he says, right before totality, there are two different phases that will happen. And one of them I think is really cool, and I'm really sorry that I won't see this today. It's called Bailey's Beads. Here's a picture of it. Check that out. So Bailey's Beads happen when the moon begins to cross in front of the sun, and the rays shine around the valleys on the moon's horizon. So cool. And that creates these glowing drops of light around the moon. You can see them there, called Bailey's Beads. The name comes from this astronomer, Francis Bailey, who noted these during an eclipse in 1836. So they're called Bailey's Beads, and you'll see them once on the way in, once on the way out, right? They disappear pretty quickly, and they make way for something called the diamond ring. And that is what it looks like when a single point of light remains like a glistening diamond ring. And there it is, the diamond ring. You can see why it's called that. And this means we're almost there, right? So once this happens, then we're very, very close to totality. And there you go. You're able to see the corona, the rays of the sun around the moon. And there might be a minute where it's complete darkness. Maybe 3 minutes to 4 minutes, they say, depending on where you are in the whole scheme of this thing. Yeah. And so Bailey's Beads go, then we get the diamond ring, and both of those last for less than a minute. And then all of a sudden totality happens and the corona shows up, and that's what you're looking at there. And even though it's dark out, he said it's somehow glorious. I'm telling you, this is going to be really cool. So the corona is the ultra hot outer atmosphere of the sun, and that emits this glow you can see here, which you can see around the moon during the eclipse. They say it's hard to see because the sun's surface is so much brighter. So the corona resembles white streams of light. Pretty interesting. So again, 3.5 to 4 minutes, depending on where you are. If you're in a certain spot in Mexico, which is going to be the spot, I guess, where they see the totality the longest, it'll be a little over 4 minutes. So that's what they're going to see today. And then back out, right? Then we're diamond ringing it again. Then we're Bailey's beating it again. Then we're biting again. And then all of a sudden, everything's back to normal. So I just, I just feel like we can't let this day go by without talking a little bit about it. And again, there are a lot of people who today decided that they were going to go to certain places where they could see this. Maybe they live somewhere in California where we're not in the path of totality. So NASA does these calculations where they think that you'll be able to see totality, except maybe they made a little bit of a mistake. The path of totality is just a little bit narrower than NASA calculated. So some cities on the edge of the route that were expected to experience maybe a second or two of total darkness could be completely left out. So they haven't changed their predictions, but they are advising that there is a little bit of uncertainty involved in mapping the eclipse path. So, you know, they say the calculations that use a slightly larger radius for the size of the sun actually have this pathway that's a little bit narrower. The difference only affecting cities on the very edge of the path of totality, where blanket predictions are difficult regardless. They say a few city blocks one way or the other could mean 20, 10, or 0 seconds of totality. So if you really wanted to see this, you'd have to go pretty much into the, if you were a tourist, an eclipse tourist, you probably would have wanted to book in the center anyway, not on the fringe or the edges. But hopefully there aren't a lot of people that did that and then they don't get to see what they thought they would see today. The scientists say never ever be near the edge of where the totality is, because that's actually a difference between night and day. You want to be like hardcore in that dead center of it all, right? But a lot of people aren't happy about this whole map situation. So, I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of songs. CNN came out with this list about the best songs for today. And there's a lot of them. Dancing in the Moonlight, Madonna's Ray of Light, The Sound of Silence, Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles, Ocean Eyes, Billie Eilish, Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, Starman by David Bowie, Don't Panic by Coldplay, Stevie Wonder's You Are the Sunshine of My Life. So there's a whole soundtrack for today. That's not all of them. If you guys have any, slap them in the chat. I'll put them up. Here's one. House of the Rising Sun, Black Moon Rising, Champagne Supernova by Oasis, and of course, Total Eclipse of the Heart, right? You can't not with that one. Let's see what you guys have. Path of Totality is a great name for a band. Yes, it's true. Oh, My Corona. Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect for today. Here Comes the Sun. Perfect beat and a dreamy feeling. Yep. It's all Trump's fault. You remember that when the 2017 eclipse happened and he decided that the glasses weren't very cool, and so he looked up at the sun with bare eyes? Yeah, nice. D says it's also a new moon, so the new moon on Monday by Duran Duran is fitting as well. Nice. We'll add it to the list, D. Excellent. So big eclipse day, and I think it's supposed to happen in the 11 o'clock hour, and that'll be exciting. I mean, for me, we have recorded a bit of the Mark Thompson show just so we can all go outside and check it out. So, and also, you can always hit pause on our shows. Pause it, go look at it, and come right back. We'll still be talking about everything. Sandy says there's an obscure song called Total Eclipse by an artist named Klaus Nomi from the early 80s. Is it a good song? I mean, it's apropos. I don't know if it's a good song. I'll have to check it out. Total Eclipse, huh? We're adding it to the list, my friend. Moondance. That's a good one, too. Yes. These are songs they didn't have on the CNN list. They do have Madness by Muse. Every Country's Sun. They have Gravity by John Mayer. There's one by Pink Floyd called Brain Damage Eclipse. Cosmic Love by Florence and the Machine. I don't know if this one fits. They have Heaven is a Place on Earth, Belinda Carlisle. I kind of like your suggestions better than those. So, Sandy says she loves it, but it's a little weird. Weird is today, though, isn't it? I think weird works. Spencer, it's the end of the world as we know it. I'm sure that back in the day when things like this happened, they thought the world was totally ending, right? One More Moon Dance with You. I don't know that song, Brian. I'm writing it down. I'm going to check it out. Yes. Black Hole Sun. Nice. Yeah, that's a great one. Moon Shadow. Perfect. Love it. Syzygy, word used in the Putnam Spelling Bee musical, I think, was it? Yeah. The Putnam County Spelling Bee, that's a great show if you ever get a chance to see it. Nancy, Pink Floyd's Total Eclipse of the Sun. All right. Manic Monday. Good suggestions, you guys. So yeah, I feel like I'm kind of getting into it a little bit. Louise says starts at 10:13 in San Jose. Maximum is at 11:13. Okay. I see the moon and the moon sees me. It's a children's song. Cute. Beautiful. So it's something special today, is something I thought we could talk about for a bit. And now, Lori, I shall move on. Let us move to this whole Southwest situation. I'm telling you guys, it's one of these things where, you know, all of these things happening at once. I'm going to show you a picture of this plane engine. The cover on this engine of this Southwest plane came right off. They're in the sky and it comes right off. Wild. I don't even know how, I mean, between door plugs and wheels falling off and everything else, now we've got the engine of the Southwest Airlines. People are on the plane, right? And they see this happen. What? Right. And they say, click the button for the flight attendant, and it looks like we've got a problem over here. This engine cover on this Boeing 737 Southwest Airlines ripped right open. They took off from Denver International Airport Sunday morning. They were headed to Houston, took off about 7:45, and about a half hour later, someone sees this happen out the window. And they're like, yeah, I don't think that's supposed to happen. So passengers aboard the flight get a hold of the flight attendants after they see the cover separate from the engine. People in the exit row start yelling up to the flight attendant, point out the damage. Flight attendant tells the pilot, we got a problem here. And they turned it right around and they landed really quickly. They got checked out. The fire department came out. Apparently the plane had to be towed in. The passenger aboard of the plane says she felt the jolt from the engine cover blow out, and it felt just like a bump. She said, I was sitting right directly in front of that engine, and we all felt a kind of bump or jolt. I looked out the window because I love window seats, and we all lit up our call buttons because they didn't feel it or see it from the pilot's viewpoint, right? And the pilots apparently were very careful as they turned that 737 around, headed back to Denver. Remember, they're a half hour out. She said, I have some pilot experience, this woman named Lisa, who felt the bump. And I could tell they were making maneuvers to very slowly come around because it really seemed like they didn't want anything else to happen. Southwest issues a statement saying they had a mechanical issue. Oh, that's what we call that. The plane landed safely, nobody hurt. They were working to get people back up in the sky, headed to Houston. But they're going to now have a federal investigation into this incident. It's the second one involving Southwest in the past 5 days. They had one on Thursday from Texas to Vegas when pilots had an engine issue there. They had an engine fire they had to extinguish. I mean, I know these things happen, but does it not seem like we've just had them a lot repeatedly, all in a row? I mean, when you hear about this stuff, it doesn't really inspire the confidence to fly. And what is it with the planes just kind of falling apart mid-flight? By whose estimation is that acceptable? I mean, just think about the ways in which these things have happened. And it seems like we would have heard about this before, but we might have had some truly mechanical issues, a rubbery smell, a smell of something that had the plane turn around, but pieces falling off, that doesn't seem so common. And yet we've had the door plug, the wheel drop off over the SFO parking lot, Now the engine cover flying off, right? It just seems like, whoa, what is happening? Really shoddy manufacturing? Yeah. Ground crew. See here, the problem is your cowling blew open. Still sends. You have to wonder if there's a clandestine group loosening bolts on planes or something. I mean, I would highly doubt it. It would seem like something that would have to happen internally, right? Deregulation, says Louise. Bolts cost extra. I'm sorry. You didn't pay enough for your ticket. You didn't get the bolted plane. Oh, my bad. That's right. Phineas says we need to go back to planes with rubber bands and balsa wood. At least they didn't fall apart mid-sky. Lord. You're totally right. Manilow 77, Black Hole Sun, Soundgarden. Perfect. Perfect. Can you spell euphemism? You guys are funny. I love you all. How many investigations, writes Joanne, does Boeing have at this point? Honestly. And how many should you be able to have until there's some type of, I don't know, I don't want to say fine, but restriction? Or you get extra scrutiny, right? All of your planes then have to go through some type of extra set of eyes, something to make sure we're safe. Yeah. Because I would be scared of that too. And I wouldn't know what that means. I mean, just because the cover blew off doesn't mean the engine's not working. Or does it? And if I'm sitting there overlooking this, I'm not feeling too confident. Yeah. Sure, I'm glad I'm flying SoCal next week. I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean, in the scheme of things, right? You're going to be fine. Nikki just flew to Las Vegas. She was a little nervous about it too. Fine. Everything's fine. And these people were fine. They turned around. Everybody, the plane set down on the ground, right? I wouldn't take my seatbelt off though. In case one of those door plugs blows out again, you don't want to be sucked out along with the cell phone. Just keep your seatbelt on. Keep your wits about you. You're good to go. OCB says the ground crew is slacking, forgot to latch the engine cowling. Is that right? I don't know. Lori says improper maintenance. Were these manufactured around the same time, to similar time of the wear and tear? That's will be part of the investigation, likely, right? Where's Pete Buttigieg? I'm sure he's on it. It's fine until it isn't. Well, that's uplifting. I mean, look at how many flights took off that day, right? And how many were fine. And then we have this one. Of course, this one is the one that makes the news because, hello, look at it. But still, I'll bring some extra bolts in my carry-on. You're going to need them. Calvin says, if they can't maintain the engine right, you can count on your seats. Can you count on the seats and the toilet being clean? I think that's the least of our worries. Bring your own Clorox wipes for the tray. And then just fingers crossed that the engine cover stays on. Ron says pilots are supposed to do a pre-flight checklist. Seems the pilot might have missed an open latch, but you think it would have an open latch warning. Well, that would be a great idea, wouldn't it? Something key like that. Hey, my car tells me if there's a door open or if the back glass window is ajar. They can't put something like that on the plane? Your engine cover's open, wheels a little loose, something. All we need now is an alien on the wing and William Shatner on the plane. Janet says, when we flew to Vegas the week before last, we were on the runway and had to go back to the gate due to a warning light coming on. Thank goodness for the warning light. I don't know what it was about, Janet, but I'm glad you're okay. We'll take the warning light. They could have used one over here. Parachute's optional. Oh my gosh. Weird things are happening in the sky. Did you hear about this story? Apparently, Brazil is not too happy with Elon Musk. They have reached the point where they're not really going to tolerate they're not buying what he's selling, I guess is a good way to say it. At least that's what it seems like. So the Supreme Court in the country of Brazil is ordering an investigation of Elon Musk over fake news and obstruction. Now, maybe it's Brazil and maybe he doesn't care so much, but they've named him, the Brazilian Supreme Court, as a target in an ongoing investigation over spreading fake news everywhere. And they opened another investigation late yesterday into alleged obstruction. The Justice Alexandre de Moraes noted on Saturday that Musk started waging this public disinformation campaign about the Supreme Court in Brazil's actions, and that the next day he followed up with comments on his social media that his social media company X would not comply with the court's orders to block certain accounts. And they say this: the flagrant conduct of obstruction of Brazilian justice, incitement of crime, the public threat of disobedience of court orders, and a future lack of cooperation from the platform are facts that disrespect the sovereignty of Brazil. So Elon Musk, international incident here. He's being investigated for alleged intentional criminal instrumentalization of X as part of this big investigation into this network of people. They're known as digital militias. They allegedly spread fake news that's defamatory, threats against the Supreme Court justices of Brazil. And now they're looking into Musk. Did he engage in obstruction, in criminal organization, incitement? I think one of the things it's easy to maybe lose sight of is that just because the laws in America are very liberal when it comes to free speech, not the same everywhere, Elon Musk. So you don't go to Brazil and ignore court orders and do this whole Trumpian thing where you double down and keep saying stuff, right? They are not having it. Although there are people in Brazil, their political right, criticizing this judge. They have been doing this for a while. They say he oversteps his bounds, tries to clamp down on free speech, engage in political persecution. That some of these so-called digital militias have been imprisoned, the supporters' homes raided. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I just think you have to tread very carefully when it comes to laws and rules in different countries. And if their court system is saying you need to take down a certain page or what have you, then you investigate, right? Then you move softly and with purpose. You don't just go, yeah, screw you, I'm doing what I want. I guess what's the end result? They can't extradite him, probably. So the end result is that X is no longer available in Brazil. And maybe they don't care about that. I mean, maybe Elon has bigger fish to fry. Something's going on in Lahaina. And it's been happening for a while, which, by the way, I think it was Deidre's birthday. So happy birthday, Deidre, if you're around. But I remember Deidre was talking to me about this, and this is a situation where, because of the fires, and there not being enough, here's a picture of that fire, that horrible fire, because there's not enough places for people to stay that were burned out in Lahaina. The prospect of renting out, if you have a condo or apartment or house, the prospect of renting that out to a short-term renter is getting a little more sticky. So there may be some new rules coming that show or that will not allow short-term vacation rentals, and that's for good. So if you book via Airbnb or VRBO or maybe find a place on Craigslist, all of that may be going away. And that's, to make sure that the people that live there have enough places to be. And maybe there's been so many problems with short-term rentals and jacking up the prices of homes for people that are looking for a long-term situation that it's becoming a real problem. So there are two bills in Hawaii that will allow counties across the islands to phase out short-term rentals. And if they're passed, the counties would have the power to just eliminate this, which seems very draconian when you look at, people own this property. Why shouldn't they be able to do what they want to do with it? The proposals really do turn short-term investment property owners and online platforms against housing advocates and hotels, because they're going to benefit from this, right? You have nowhere else to stay. You can't stay in a condo. Well, I guess you can't do that, so you've got to stay in a hotel. That's the only choice. The measures are, as we mentioned, a symbol of Hawaii's housing crisis. 4,000 housing units were destroyed here, and thousands of people were displaced. And so, if these bills are approved that would eliminate the short-term rentals, the hope is that Maui residents will be able to get adequate long-term housing. And there are other areas in the islands, not just Lahaina, not just West Maui, that are impacted by short-term rentals as well. They say people are leaving Hawaii. They just can't take it. It's a problem. There's a recent analysis from the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement that says at least 1,000 residents have left the island since the fire. These are people who may have been born in Hawaii, who now live in the continental U.S. And when you have that, sometimes, depending on who they are, but I would say it's likely that you have part of the culture leaving the island. Especially if you have people from big Native Hawaiian families that have to check out of Hawaii. So I get why they want people to have long-term places to stay. But it's a rough one. I mean, if you bought a condo in, say, Kihei or Paia or wherever, and the whole reason you bought it was because you thought, I can rent it out part of the time to help cover costs. Maybe now you can't afford your condo anymore. So, according to this article in SF Gate, last year was the first time census records showed more Native Hawaiians live on the continent on the mainland instead of in Hawaii. So, and the people are angry there because they say second home, we just need one home. One of the signs they have. One of the quotes from a woman who's living in a tent on Ka'anapali Beach says, the thought or the possibility of my keiki children and my future grandchildren not being able to stay and live in Hawaii is haunting. They want to stay in their homeland. And they're being pushed out. So what to do? 87% of the housing stock above historic Lahaina town, vacation rentals. So what do you do? This is a hard one. These bills have a very good chance of passing. Some people say this is very unfair, probably illegal. It's unfair to the Aloha spirit. This is somebody who owns 2 properties in Hawaii and lives in Marin. It would be unaffordable without short-term property rentals, they say, to keep those rentals. Maybe you sell them to the people that live there? I don't know. I don't know. This is a really rough situation. You can't build fast enough to keep these people there. So, they're faced with a horrible problem. All right, let's talk about, it's Trump. I know, I'm sorry. But I think this is really important. And also so silly. Trump thinks that he can solve the abortion debate. This is a guy who's completely responsible for the repeal of Roe v. Wade. And he thinks he can fix it now. No, you can't fix it. He's promising a deal on abortion that will please everyone. Wow, that's pretty big. I don't know. I mean, isn't this something? It's one of these red hot button issues, right? There are some things that we're never going to see eye to eye on. There's agree to disagree moments. You think life starts at conception? I think maybe it starts at first breath. Whatever. We're never going to agree. But somehow, Trump thinks he can fix this. The whole reason that women are struggling, especially in red states right now, his fault. And he says he's promising to make a statement on abortion this week. And he said if he's elected, that he will come together with all groups and negotiate something that will make both sides happy, suggesting that 15 weeks seems to be a number that people are agreeing at. It would be agreeing with, not at, but okay. He said, we'll end up with peace on that issue for the first time in 52 years. How silly is that? You think you can just waltz in and say, oh, well, many people say that it's 15 weeks. We're going to make it so. And that women are going to be happy with that? Because you've done nothing about what happens in late pregnancy. If the child's going to be born and die a horrible death, the life of the mother is at risk. All of these things. You're just going to say, 15 weeks, we're good to go. No. I mean, would that make you happy? Because that wouldn't make me happy. I'm telling you that. And he's the reason that we're in this horrible spot in the first place. So, Kellyanne Conway says, it's a reasonable conversation starter. Right. People recognize the lack of compromise, moderation, and reasonableness is on the side of the professional political left and the Democrats. Really? Who was the side that took it away completely? That was real reasonable. Trump is talking about other Republicans. He says they're very inarticulate when it comes to the issue of abortion. He said there's almost, I don't know. I just, there really is not a middle ground on this. You either allow it or you don't. Is 3 months good to you? It doesn't sound good to me. You're getting the best of both worlds by pitching a 15-week ban. This from a Republican political strategist. Pro-life groups still aren't going to be happy. You're still supporting a nationwide limit that Democrats will attack. So how does this solve anything then? If you've still got both sides unhappy, how does it solve anything? The Trump campaign apparently will want to keep their options open and stick to the line that he'll negotiate something that everyone will be happy with. It's complete and utter nonsense. And people will say, oh, well, he's trying. At least he's trying. No. Look at what happened last time. What is it they say? If someone shows you who they are, believe them. I believe them. I believe that they took away Roe v. Wade. I believe they took away the federal right. That's what I believe. I don't believe he's going to negotiate anything to make anyone happy. That's a load of, pardon me, that's a load of crap, right? But the Republicans know that they have a big problem when it comes to abortion because of what he did. And so there's no amount of, I'll make a deal to make everyone happy, or skirting around the issue, or tap dancing, that's going to take that away. Just not. And it's a huge problem for them, because I think women are going to come out in droves to vote so that something can be done to enshrine our rights. At least that's my hope. So, I mean, and make everybody happy. Really? The pro-life people that are outside abortion clinics, that's not going to make them happy. Right? Not at all. So, yeah, it's frustrating. There was a poll done by Fox News, so put your questionable cap on, right? It found in the last year, support for 15-week abortion ban dropped by 12 points. 54% of voters now oppose it. The same poll found the support for abortion being legal in all or most circumstances rose in the demographics Trump most needs to win in November. That's why he's saying this. Older Americans that identify themselves as conservative, registered Republicans, and white evangelical Christians, apparently, I don't know. They say that Republican support increased from 24% to 36% in less than 2 years. And that is for abortion being legal in all or most circumstances. That had risen. The number has risen. So, support for abortion access has grown among key Trump demographics since the Roe v. Wade decision. And so they know they've got a problem, even among people who mostly agree with them, right? Yeah. All right, how about we do a little bit of news? Let's get rid of Trump for a minute and do a little bit of news here on the Nikki Medoro Show. I do want to remind you that the sponsor of this show is Auntie Tabby's. And you can, let me see if I can get the banner up. You can get a discount at Auntie Tabby's by typing in Nick Kim. See if I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Nick Kim. So you go to auntietabbies.com/Nikki M, Nikkim, or Nick Kim. And type it in, order your sauce, and you can get 10% off. They also have 25% off if you sign up for their mailing list. So you can get that discount as well, and it still counts that they know that you're from the Nikki Medoro Show. So they've got the pineapple hot sauce. They've got the hibiscus hot sauce. If you like a little heat, think about all the things you could add this to, all the ways you could use it. And then they've got the guava barbecue sauce, which is a little more up my alley. So again, auntietabbies.com/Nikki M. And thank you to Auntie Tabby's for supporting the show. All right, how about some news? Here it is. Nope. Oh, wait, hold on. Turn up the volume.
Push the button. Come on, push the button.
That's not
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Former President Trump is planning to sue the judge in his hush money case in New York. The New York Times says it's targeted at the judge's gag order in an attempt to delay the trial. Trump is charged with falsifying business records in an effort to cover up an alleged sexual encounter with porn actress Stormy Daniels. Trump's team says the judge, Juan Merchan, is biased, noting his daughter is an executive a top Democrat at a marketing firm that reportedly worked with President Biden. So the gag order stops Trump from attacking witnesses, prosecutors, and the family of the judge. The trial is currently set for April 15th. And again, now Trump is planning to sue the judge in this case. There is a shakeup in the works in the race for California's 75th Assembly District. Paula Whitesell is the chair of the San Diego County Republican Party and is attempting to switch the party's endorsement from Andrew Hayes to Carl DeMaio. It has sparked controversy as Coronado Mayor Richard Bailey accuses Whitesell of misusing her authority. This dispute follows a primary election where Hayes and DeMaio both emerged as the leading candidates. Hayes backed by numerous Republicans, DeMaio known for his conservative activism and media presence. Whitesell is calling for a special executive committee meeting to re-examine this whole issue. So there is a big dust-up in the Republican Party in San Diego. As we mentioned earlier, there's excitement building ahead of the solar eclipse this morning. The first total eclipse here since 2017, and the last until 2044. The path of totality, where the sun is completely covered by the moon, will occur in more than a dozen states today. Taking a picture, though, of the partial eclipse with your phone or total eclipse, could damage your eyes and your camera. So today's eclipse will be total for a narrow strip across a dozen or so states, but in areas where the eclipse is partial, extra precautions should be taken for taking photos. You'll need to use the same material used in eclipse viewing glasses to put over the lens of your phone. So better to just see the pictures elsewhere, right, instead of damaging your phone. The Biden administration is proposing a new plan to slash student loan debt for more than 30 million borrowers. The plan would affect those with runaway interest, borrowers who have been paying on loans for 20 years, and those who qualify for income-driven repayment plans. 20 years. We're still paying on my husband's student loan. Maybe we'll qualify, but probably not. It seems like there's always something where we just miss qualifying. The White House estimates that the plan could eliminate accrued interest on 23 million borrowers' unpaid balances. Congress returns this week. They've got a big to-do list. In the House, Speaker Mike Johnson is facing pressure to put a sweeping national security package through that includes aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. He's being pressured to bring that to the floor for a vote. Deadlines are also nearing to renew the controversial Foreign Surveillance Program, FISA. Former Marvel star Jonathan Majors avoiding jail time after being convicted of attacking his former girlfriend late last year. A judge sentenced Majors today to probation, adding that jail is not necessary. Majors also has to complete a 52-week in-person domestic violence program in Los Angeles, continue mental health counseling, and stay away from the victim. Wow. That's it? You can attack someone and you get probation and a little counseling? All right. And as we just mentioned a minute ago regarding abortion, President Biden is calling out Donald Trump over his stance on abortion. The president making a statement today saying the former president is responsible for ending Roe v. Wade, claiming that Trump would sign a national abortion ban into law if he was even given the chance. This comes after Trump released a video today saying he believes that abortion laws should be left up to the states to decide. Celebrity chef and humanitarian Jose Andres saying Israel seems to be committing a war against humanity itself. He appeared on ABC's This Week after an Israeli drone strike killed 7 aid workers from his charity group, World Central Kitchen in Gaza. Andres renewing his call for an independent investigation, saying the perpetrator cannot be investigating himself. There has been an arrest made now in connection with the arson fire set at the Burlington office of Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Shant Shomogoyan, I don't know if I said it right, of California, who also goes by Michael, was arrested Sunday, is being held without bail. The Vermont U.S. Attorney's Office says the 35-year-old set fire outside the door of the senator's office on Friday, causing some damage, but no injuries there. So, at least they found somebody they found the alleged perpetrator there. 13 individuals will go down in basketball immortality as the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame announced its 2024 class on Saturday during men's Final Four weekend. The most notable of the inductees, Jerry West, the legendary Los Angeles Lakers player and executive, headed to the Hall of Fame for the third time, this time as a contributor. So, see, I do want to end it on a better note, but how about this? Fake glasses for the eclipse. Experts are warning people about these fake eclipse sunglasses. A lot of people ordered them thinking that was the real thing. No. The American Astronomical Society reminding stargazers to wear the approved eclipse glasses on April 8th today to watch the event and make sure they're not the counterfeit ones. Real eclipse glasses are specially made to block almost all visible light. As the AAS warned, the market is full of cheap knockoffs that could actually hurt your eyes. On April 8th today, the moon will pass between the Earth and the Sun, blocking much of its light for a few minutes. So the Society provided a list of reputable makers of eclipse eye protection for about 32 million Americans who will be able to see the solar eclipse where they live. So you got to check those glasses and make sure they're the real ones and not the fakers. Speaking of the eclipse and its effect on animals, not dangerous for pets, they say, but experts don't recommend bringing your animals with you to see it. The upcoming eclipse will, again, see thousands of people traveling to the path of totality, but they say it could actually have a negative impact on your pets. If you do bring a pet, make sure they have a lot of space around them and water, and that if they're on a leash, especially, don't force your pet to look at the eclipse if it has no interest. I mean, who would do that? Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! People are weird, though. I don't know. All right, that is the news here on the Nikki Medoro Show. Let's get back into it because we've got, I don't know if you saw this story about Valerie Bertinelli, and it just struck me that at one point you would have people, actors, actresses, that would be cut from a show. And you really wouldn't hear from them again, or maybe they'd put out like a single line statement that, you might read somewhere. But you never saw them come out and make big statements until lately, right? Where people have platforms to do this. And I don't know what's more professional. Or maybe the line of being professional is changing now. But Valerie Bertinelli was on this show, and we watched it in my house because my kids enjoyed it. And it's the Kids Baking Championship or Baking Challenge. And it was on the Food Network. And so it's Duff, the guy that has the cake business, and Valerie Bertinelli. And she's cut from the show. And they say it's a financial decision. They don't have the money to pay her. Maybe they didn't love her performance on the show. I don't know, whatever it was. And so in the olden days, Bertinelli would have, gone away quietly, maybe looked for the next big job. But now she's got the platform, and this is a little long, but I think it's worth it for the discussion, to come out and say goodbye, to talk about why she's not happy and what's going on here. So I don't know if that's better or not. If we want to hear that from her, or if we would rather people just kind of not. We would rather people just kind of check out and not make this public display of, making a big deal out of it. Here's what she had to say.
And I know it's not supposed to, logically. I know that it's business. Budget cuts, right? But it really hurt my feelings to know that I'm not going to be asked back to be on Kids Baking Championship. It really sucks. That's Batman, if you can hear him. The episodes that are airing right now, I shot back in the summer of 2022, which was my apex year of hell. Like I was going through it and pretending everything was just fine, because that's what you do. And without sounding like a drama queen, the show saved my life. It just, working with all of those really wonderful people and feeling productive and knowing I could spread some kindness and not just wallow in my hell and just try to keep my head above water. It helped me. It was like a flotation device. So it really hurts that I won't be able to go back and see everybody and say, hey, I made it through. Hi. I think I'm just most sad that I won't be able to tell everybody what they mean to me. Les and Duff and that camera crew, sound crew, art department, the back kitchen crew. Oh my God, these people work so hard to give you an amazing show. And all of those kid bakers that I got to watch grow up, I feel so lucky. And to all the bakers that are coming in for the new season, even though I won't be there, I'll be with you in spirit. And I just want you to remember this. You are there for a reason. You're some of the best bakers in America right now. And if you don't make it to the next round, please always remember this. It's not because you're not a good baker. You just had a bad day. So always, always believe in yourself. Please do that for me. And keep baking. I'll miss you guys.
And so there it is. I mean, it's a lovely comment. She doesn't say anything outrageous. She's sad that she's cut. She's, bummed that she's not going to be able to say goodbye to the crew. And she gives a hearty, keep baking message to the kids. Vanessa finds the honesty refreshing. Brian wonders why she's doing this. Mars is not impressed. Calvin says it's a way to say goodbye to coworkers and fans of the show. And I guess the question for me is, do we need to see this from her? Is it good? I mean, is it good that people now have these platforms where they can come out and make these pronouncements and tell their sides of the story? Or is it not really something we need? Is it not very professional? Should you just say, one comment, issue a comment to People magazine? Yes, it's true. I've, the show is moving in a different direction. I've really loved my time on the show. The people are wonderful. Keep baking, kids. Was that enough? Or do we need the whole emotional thing? And is that professional anymore? I guess what used to be considered professional is keeping your feelings in, right? Keeping them out of the whole thing. And that's not what we got from her. We got feelings. And maybe that's the new normal. Maybe the new professional is having a way to express yourself. Yeah, Eric said she didn't disparage anyone. She just said goodbye. I think, though, she did say that at the beginning that, it hurt her feelings, that she's sad she won't be able to go back and see people. And if it was an amicable parting, then why wouldn't she be able to go back and say goodbye? I don't know. She didn't want to sound like a Karen. Well, that's the thing. I think you can have an opinion on this even if you don't watch the show in a wider context, OCB, because we're talking about the change in the way people approach things, right? That we all now have this microphone, this public microphone. You have it on your Facebook page or your X page or whatever it is, wherever you voice things to the world. We now have a different way of communicating. And so does that change the way that we respond to things? Or is it still, you still respond to things in the same way, but maybe, you are very careful about what you post online? If you got laid off, would you go online and say, I've been laid off today. Let me tell you how much that place sucked. Right? And if you go and say that, does that burn bridges with that company that may have hired you back someday, or maybe other companies that can go back and look and say, oh, look at that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we, Doug appreciates the sentiment. Chris says celebrities can embarrass themselves now to millions. I don't think that particularly was embarrassing. I think maybe it was a little bit much. Spencer says, keep your feelings to yourself. Phineas says, Valerie, call me. Call on me, Valerie. I'm the same boy I used to be. I think maybe that's a song, or maybe you just really like Valerie. I don't know. Grady says, feelings get in the way of decisions. I think sometimes we post things without really thinking about what the consequences are, or about how other people are going to perceive what we're posting, which can be interesting. John says, the reason people say there are no more movie stars is because we now know more about every star's personal life, just about. And that, I mean, in a way, it could make you feel more connected to people, I guess. But in another way, it's like, it takes away some of the magic, doesn't it? Yeah. I don't know. My cannabis club has a barista who is a flat earther. And that's the thing. Even people in our daily lives, we know way more about them than we should, right? And now you kind of look at them like, oh, you're that guy. Lori says, I think it's good. Why not? Not negative or whiny. Sometimes when you go through a bad mental health time, it's important to let people that helped you through know how much they helped, especially when they have hidden it. Yeah. Maybe, or maybe that's a private letter to the staff. You know, I don't know if it's a public pronouncement. Vanessa says more people discussing feelings is a good thing. And that may be true. Maybe people will hear what she has to say and feel inspired. Or maybe it kind of, I don't know, degrades this wall that we used to have up where we didn't let people see every little thing. John says, I used to watch America's Test Kitchen every week. That dining around show. Check please, Bay Area. Yeah, that's good. What if they're discussing feelings about flat Earth? I don't know. Best to keep your troubles to yourself, says Ricky, as some will be glad you have them. Ooh, I hope not. Yikes. John thinks it's good that stars are more open. Debbie says, I love her, and I wish all the KGO hosts had a chance to say goodbye. Wouldn't that have been nice? Yeah, I think they did it wrong. I get that in radio, they're afraid you're going to say negative things, right? They're afraid of what you're going to say or how it's going to make them look. But I think when you have a station that's been on the air that long, you owe it. It's due. It would have been nice to let people know that this was coming. It would have been nice to say, at least have Mark or someone say a farewell and explain what was happening to people. That was frustrating. I will agree with that. Natalie says it's a human moment. She's human and she's not just a personality. And maybe it makes her more human to people. Maybe that's true. Yeah. Or maybe that's not what she wants professionally, is to have that, I don't know, to have that mystique about her come down. Or maybe I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I don't know. I just feel like it's a change, that we're seeing more from people than we ever used to. Yeah. Ricky with a good reminder, and I haven't asked this today, could you please hit the thumbs up button? And if you haven't subscribed to the Nikki Medoro Show, please do. Right about now is when the Eclipse hoopla is beginning, right? Things are starting outside. We don't really heat up until the 11 o'clock hour, but apparently changes are taking place. Eric says, honestly, what would saying anything negative about KGO have done? Lost them many more listeners? It's not like they have any listeners now anyway. It's true, but you don't want people that are angry that they're being let go and fired to be given a microphone, right? Because you don't know what's going to come out of their mouths. That's the general thinking for radio, is that you take someone off the air, you fire them, send them packing. You never let them get back to the microphone again. So, I mean, obviously, like Valerie Bertinelli, we all have our own microphones now. So, I don't know. What would it have done? Would it have been professional? I think they could have had someone that was professional say at least a goodbye, right? Without opening it up to the whole entire staff or taking chances, they could have at least explained it and said goodbye. And I think they made a big mistake by not doing that. Mindy says people want to be treated with respect. Getting dumped like that is humiliating and it hurts. That's true. That's very true. What Chris says, KGO could get higher ratings playing Christmas music in the summer. Okay. As far as what's on right now, probably. Yeah. All right, let's move on from Valerie and talk a little bit about RFK. The director of RFK's campaign in New York says her number one priority is preventing a Biden victory. Now, recently, it seems to me, with his vaccine stance, perhaps the stance of his vice presidential pick on IVF, and some other things he's said, that he's a little bit more, I don't know, people that would be drawn to him might also be drawn to Trump. So I've been thinking lately, well, maybe his candidacy, RFK Jr., really affects Trump more than it does Biden. Who are they going to pull votes away from, right? There he is, RFK. But perhaps, I don't know, if they're trying to target the Biden voters, then maybe I should be a little more worried about all this. I don't know. That's what they're saying in New York. New York-based campaign official for RFK is pitching Republican voters to support his independent presidential bid by saying Kennedy will help Donald Trump defeat Joe Biden if he's on the New York ballot. This is from Rita Palma, who's the state director for the Kennedy campaign in New York. And she's now going around meeting with New York Republicans, trying to get him on that state ballot to help get rid of Biden. She says it's her number one priority and that it will make it easier for Trump to win in New York, which is historically voting blue, right? She said the only way Trump can even remotely possibly take New York is if Bobby is on the ballot. If it's Trump versus Biden, Biden wins. Biden wins 6 days, 7 days a week. But with Bobby in the mix, she said, anything can happen. The only way for Bobby, to shake it up and to get rid of Biden is if he's on the ballot in every state. So her comments are made as the Biden campaign is arguing that his campaign is a spoiler, RFK Jr., that will ultimately benefit Trump at the ballot box in November. So the Biden team is knowing this as well. I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, it just seems like I guess when I say we, I mean, I don't even mean Democrats. I mean people who care about restoring women's reproductive health rights. That's really what it's about for me. But I'll say Democrats need every vote they can get. This is not a time to joke around. You know, this is not a time for a spoiler to stroll in and give us 4 years of Trump. This is dangerous right here. I don't know what you think about RFK Jr., but it seems like they're pulling out all the stops to get him on all these state ballots now. So she says, Palma, that if Bobby is moving the blues on his own, if Republicans accepted the fact that New York, Maryland, Illinois, California, New Jersey, Connecticut, and most of the Northeast is going to go blue, then she said, why wouldn't we put our vote to Bobby and at least get rid of Biden and get those 28 electoral votes in New York? Give those 28 electoral votes to Bobby rather than Biden, reducing Biden's 270. Who are they going to pick, she said. If it's a Republican Congress, they'll pick Trump. So we're rid of Biden either way. I can't even, I mean, and the scary thing is, maybe when she's looking at these numbers, maybe she's right. I don't know. I'm a little frightened by it. So let me go to the chat, see what you guys have to say about all this. Do we have any RFK voters in the crowd? Yeah. RFK's financial supporters are the same people paying off Trump. Yeah. His face looks tiny compares to his head. I don't know. He's a jerk. His voice is like fingernails on a chalkboard. Eric says, I don't know any Democrats who want to vote for for RFK Jr., but I know a lot of Trumpers who will vote for him if Trump drops out. Ricky says, I can't find any Kennedys who are in for RFK Jr. No, they're embarrassed by it. Not at all. Eric says she's basically admitting he's not going to win and they'd rather have Trump than Biden. That's right. And so if we know that, right? I don't know. What are his policies? I honestly don't know much about him because I haven't really delved into his campaign other than to just know on the surface what he said about vaccines, which I completely disagree with. I mean, that to me right there makes me not even care to look into him any further. But I guess I need to do it. So we know what we're up against, right? Apparently he does go by Bobby. Yeah. So that's what we're looking at. Yay. No. Not excited about that at all. I don't know. This is going to be a year, you guys. It's going to be a big, big year. Election-wise. Regarding, by the way, that whole Trump situation with the, I'm going to make it so that everybody's happy with abortion issue. There's a major anti-choice group now who's very disappointed with his announcement. It's Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America Group. And they say they're not backing candidates who don't support a 15-week federal abortion ban. So I don't think they're very happy with him. Yeah. I'm telling you, there's no way to make everybody happy on that issue. Absolutely no way. No. In Maryland, where the Francis Scott Key Bridge came down, the governor is now confirming that they've got this very aggressive timeline, they say, for reopening the port. I have a picture of that horrible accident. So they're moving fast, really, really fast. The, of course, bridge came down when it was hit March 26th. 6 construction workers who were out there filling potholes, right, died in this accident. They'd like to resume normal operations at the Port of Baltimore by the end of May, and they say that's realistic. They've already opened one shipping lane through this area, removed the debris from that spot. The governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, was on the Sunday shows. They was CBS News Face the Nation. And Governor Moore said, yep, this is the timeline. We're going to do this by the end of May. We're hard at work ensuring the required works are completed, staying close to the families of those who were affected. He said, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure we're bringing closure and comfort to families, to be able to reopen this channel, to be able to support our workers and support families who have been impacted by it, and also begin the process of the rebuilding of this bridge. It's an aggressive timeline, he said, but we're going to work around the clock to make sure we hit this timeline. And President Biden is promising to give the cost of the bridge repair. And he is expecting Congress to support that, but it could be $1 billion to rebuild that bridge. $1 billion. I think you're going to get some pushback from Congress on that. The governor says, I I fully intend to have the federal government cover the cost of rebuilding this bridge, all of it. Actually, that's President Biden who said that. He said we've done it in other parts of the country in similar circumstances, and he's calling on Congress to authorize the effort as soon as possible. And already Republicans say no. They're, they're pushing back on this. So there's an independent investigation going on. I would hope when they rebuild this $1 billion bridge, they redesign it to make it a little more Bay Area-esque, right? Because maybe I'm deluding myself, but given everything I've read about the way our bridges are built, it seems like this is unlikely to happen here. And so maybe they need to take a page and look at what our bridges look like here and change up their design a little bit. It seems to me. But $1 billion for a bridge, man. Maybe they also need to look at what happened on the Bay Bridge. Make sure the bolts are all right. Right? Yeah, I don't know. Already people are crowding around. This begun with the eclipse. They're doing it. Here is apparently the moon partially covering the sun in Mazatlan, Mexico. And this is from today. This is what it looked like today in Mexico. I know. But it's the eclipse day. Lori, how can I not? Right? Here's what it looks like. What it looked like just a little bit ago in Mazatlan. I'll show you the picture. See the little bite taken out of the sun? Pretty cool. So yeah, people are gathered. People are outside. People are doing this. A lot of people woke up really early this morning to get a spot. Some people have been camping out to get a spot. In some ways, it reminds me, in some movies, when the aliens are coming, or when there's some astronomical thing happening and people put their weird shirts on or their purple spacesuits and they stand around when they should be going for safety. Kind of reminds me, everyone gathering outside, looking up. So, extending 5 hours from the first bite out of the sun to the last, the eclipse begins in the Pacific, made landfall at Mazatlan, Mexico, before moving into Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, 12 other states in the Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, and New England, and then Canada. The last stop will be Newfoundland, with the eclipse ending in the North Atlantic. They say it'll take 1 hour, 40 minutes for the moon's shadow to race across more than 4,000 miles across the continent. So, thus it begins. And that's what it started looking like in Mazatlan. Pretty interesting. They're lined up at Niagara Falls. That's supposed to be a great place to see this. And hopefully the cloud cover doesn't get in the way. I have to look at the forecast today for the Bay Area. See what they have to say over at Spencer Christian's station, ABC 7. Today, sunny. It doesn't look like we're getting any clouds, so that's great. So it should be an interesting view for us all, right? I love it. Lori's like, Kim, will you knock it off? Yes, Lori. Yes, I will. All right, let's do a little bit of local news now. Although I think the eclipse is technically local news too. We'll do a little local news. Did you feel the earthquake in the North Bay? If you were in Healdsburg, maybe you did. It was a magnitude 3.4. Hit the North Bay at 8:45 this morning. I'm just going to leave the picture of the eclipse up because how cool is that? The epicenter about 13 miles northeast of Healdsburg. Just a little one, We're going to see, after cold, windy rainstorms, a little bit of warmth now. Maybe temperatures over the next few days getting into the 80s, lots of sunshine. So things are really starting to warm up a little bit, which is nice. In business, Apple is submitting its streaming music compliance plan to European Union antitrust regulators. Under the proposed changes, Spotify and other competitors with apps in the Apple App Store can allow users to make purchases outside of Apple's ecosystem. That's because last month, EU regulators fined Apple $2 billion and have new fines waiting if Apple doesn't comply with its rules. They mean business. Meta is asking a judge to dismiss the Federal Trade Commission's antitrust case against it. The FTC sued the Facebook parent in 2020, calling it a monopoly after it acquired Instagram and WhatsApp. Meta says the FTC has failed to provide plausible evidence to back up this allegation, and they want it gone. A hazmat cleanup is over in Petaluma after an electric car crash. An officer tried to pull the driver over Saturday for speeding on Highway 101, but apparently the vehicle only went faster, topping about 100 miles an hour. The driver then hitting a concrete barrier, rolling, leaving a path of burning batteries as the car flipped into the water. Some of those batteries apparently even exploded. So crews put out the fires, left the car soaking until yesterday to make sure no other batteries reignited. Now they've got the hazmat crews out there. Speaking of cars, very, very big sideshow kind of weekend. Across the Bay Area, these sideshows popped up in 4 cities, starting late Saturday night, going until early yesterday morning. The first in Menlo Park, drivers doing donuts at an intersection. Stanford was next, followed by Mountain View. One woman was hit and broke her ankle. 2 more sideshows, one in Oakland. One ended on the Bay Bridge at about 3 in the morning. They've got video of a huge crowd blocking traffic for nearly 20 minutes. So it's unclear if any of these are related. The same people going from place to place to place. I don't know. So sad, this situation in Concord. They're looking for a driver who left a 9-year-old to die in a crash. The CHP says the driver ran away after veering off the road between Interstate 680 and Highway 242, right at that split. Happened yesterday in Concord. The SUV rolled several times in the dirt median. It landed upside down. First responders arrived. They couldn't save this little girl. 4 women who were also inside did survive. They were taken to the hospital with major injuries. Again, the driver just ran. So, horrible. Another weekend earthquake in Northern California, as we just had one this morning in near the Healdsburg area, is a reminder for everyone to sign up for those earthquake alerts, right? It is Earthquake Preparedness Month, so state officials are urging everyone to download the My Shake app, which will send your smartphone a warning, hopefully in time for you to run for cover. I've had interesting experiences with the MyShake app. One time it gave me a great warning. Another time it went off after the fact. So I don't think they have it perfected yet, but I think it is a great thing to download. California's Dungeness crab season is closing today. It started 2 months late to protect the humpback whales from getting tangled up in the gear, and that's the same reason it's ending early too, along most of the state's coast. The closure runs from the Sonoma-Mendocino County line to the border with Mexico. Recreational crab traps also won't be allowed. Other methods like hoop nets are okay to use, but anything that could entangle the humpbacks as they come through, not cool. Did you know it's Library Week in California? Yeah, day 2 of Library Week. Governor Gavin Newsom making the proclamation calling libraries the heart of communities. He says they hold more than books and should be celebrated for the essential services, resources, and opportunities they provide for free across the state. That includes tutoring, adult literacy, summer reading, test prep, early learning for toddlers, even meals for some kids in libraries. So, Spirit Airlines is making it easier for Californians, apparently. They've got a new nonstop route to be added between San Jose and Los Angeles. They've got 2 daily flights. That starts on June 5th. So that low-cost air carrier plans to increase flights from San Diego, offering 5 new destinations. The first one starts Wednesday to Sacramento, and Spirit already offers service to Oakland. So we talked about this recently. They're bringing back Pride Night at Disneyland for the 2nd year in a row. The event to be held June 18th and 20th at the California theme park in Anaheim. The fun apparently kicks off from 6 to 9 p.m. before the official party begins. Some rides will be open after hours as well. Admission also includes commemorative keepsakes, a special fireworks show, a parade, dance club as well, and the tickets go on sale tomorrow for Magic Key holders and then on Thursday for everyone else. So if that's of interest to you. Police in Los Angeles have seized about $140,000 in counterfeit Lakers merchandise being sold outside of Crypto.com arena in recent weeks. The LAPD says those items seized on Sunday include jerseys and shirts and hats, and they all appear to be authentic from a distance. When you get up close, they're actually poor quality fakes. Vendors have been selling items off of tables and out of wagons on the sidewalk in front of the arena. It's not clear at this point if they arrested anyone, but they want people to be aware. Don't get duped by the fakes outside Crypto.com. We mentioned last week the 99-cent stores were shutting down, closing up shop. There's now an effort underway to save 143 99-cent only stores in Southern California. The CEO of Pick and Save Bargains and the former president of Big Lots, his name is Mark Miller, is now putting together a team of investors interested in buying those stores. Some of the investors are former 99-cent store executives. So last week, they announced all of the 99 cents only stores in California, Nevada, Arizona, and Texas would be closing due to financial difficulties. But if they have their way, they'll be saving the Southern California stores. So I wanted to tell you something else. I wanted to tell you some North Bay news because they've got, I've got some sad news, as a matter of fact. Man found dead in a crash a couple of months ago, February, is now being identified. He's 44 from Glen Ellen. He died on February 16th. Boy, did it take a long time to identify this man. Authorities say his sedan left the road, hit a tree, caught fire. CHP is investigating. And again, they've finally identified this man. What's interesting is they don't tell you what his name is, but at least his family knows, so that's good, right? Here in California, the solar eclipse is expected to peak at about 35%. So it looks like the peak in much of the Bay Area will be at about between 11:10 to 11:15, and the whole thing should wrap up by 12:15 p.m. So just in case you're wanting to go outside. Not quite yet, but it is starting. So, all right, that's it. That's the news here on the Nikki Medoro Show. And we do count on you to help us fund the show. We really appreciate all the help. And I do have some people to thank already. Spencer throwing down $5. Spencer Jaffe, you're awesome. And thank you so much. And then another $5 from Spencer. Really, really kind. Thank you so much. Pamela writing, good show today. Thanks, Kim. We can always count on you to rally for a YouTube show. Hey, I mean, I would rather have Nikki here talking as well, but that's just the way it goes. And love to spend time with you guys. So thank you for the $5, Pamela, and for the $5 twice from Spencer, for the 10, I should say. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Please find all the information at thenikkimedoroshow.com. I have been remiss in not saying this, but it is thenikkimedoroshow.com. The Patreon link, the PayPal link, all there. You can find it. And if you can't do that for whatever reason, please click the thumbs up button. Please subscribe to the show. All these things help us out very, very much. So thank you for that. I'm going to go outside and check out the eclipse, and I want you to do it too. The Mark Thompson Show starts at 11. We've taped a little bit as we're all going to be outside checking it out. And I hope you do poke your head outside with the proper eyewear, of course, to make sure that you can at least experience some of this today. Lori, I know you're going outside. All right. I'm Kim McAllister. Thanks for hanging out during the Nikki Medoro Show. I'll see you next on the Mark Thompson Show here on YouTube, and then for the After Party Live a little bit later on. Until then, here's Jake.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.
Nikki, you're all so